All right, Alex, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
And
for having me. This is exciting. First podcast. I'm ready to go.
all right, well, welcome. And today we're going to be talking about Beyond the Peak, the Los Angeles screening, which is coming up February 18th, 2023. Alex, could you tell us a little bit about the upcoming film?
I'm the producer and director of Beyond the Peak. It is a spiritual mountain climbing documentary about the highest liturgy service ever performed in North America. We did this feat back in 2017 in July, a few days after 4th of July. And there's a whole big story around the entire film that's kind of like, I guess, the culminating moment. It is, I guess you can say, I guess it gives away the story a little bit, but it's kind of, I think, the attracting piece to be part of this event where we did this liturgy service, basically, I think, like a Sunday church service high up in the mountains kind of thing. This was a goal that the characters of my film wanted to do ever since they kind of did one of their earlier climbs kind of thing. The movie, it follows David Raymond Rykovich. He, I think at the time, was about let's like mid 30s, 40s kind of age. He back in 2010, the whole movie kind of kicks off around 2010 when his brother tragically passed away, and his brother, kind of on his deathbed, asked him, "Can you please climb a mountain for me and pray for me at the top of this mountain?" And David was extremely touched by this request from his brother, and it was really hard for him to lose his family member, which it is for everyone. This is just kind of a fact of life. When it happens, it's never easy. And unfortunately, it was even harder for him too, because he didn't have the best relationship with his brother. So he always felt like they would improve their relationship as they would get older, but it never did seem to get better, kind of thing. Uh, and unfortunately, he had this tragic accident. It was, I think, a work related accident where he like tripped on a skid and he broke a couple of ribs. And he I think he got checked out early on, and they said he was fine, but then he just kept getting sick and basically died. And they found out on his like deathbed that they did the autopsy, they found out that there was like a splinter inside of his rib that pierced it, and it kind of basically forced his whole body to shut down. So it's really sad and really tragic of how Zachary passed away. And Zachary passed away at, like, I think he was just shy of 30, so he was a really young guy when it all happened. But that unfortunately tragedy did kind of lead to David climbing his first mountain in many years. He did do these mountains much earlier in his college days, but his first mountain in many years, and he went to Mount Blanca, which is part of the Sangre de Cristo mountain range in Colorado, and he made it to the top of the mountain through weathering the bad weather, the uncertainty of climbing mountains and all that comes with that, and made it to the top. And he said a prayer, and he said in his in the film, he says, like, he felt like he could submissively whisper into God's ear and say, "God, will you have mercy on my soul, and will you have mercy on my brother's soul?" kind of thing. He tried to do his best, and I'm here to, I guess, further send this message to you, and I hope you could receive it. And he felt like his prayers were heard, because he's like, I think a thing that my movie talks about is the power of prayer and spirituality in nature and in mountains, kind of thing. Because we do that in church all the time, and I guess in the world, like right before we started this podcast, we did a prayer. But I think there's a little bit more, something unique and a little bit more special about praying and trying to connect with God in nature and in the mountains, because it's kind of your soul, you feel this sense of connectivity when you are out in nature. And I'm sure you can attest to that from your own hikes and things like that. And that's basically what this documentary is about, is this club that David formed through this tragedy, and eventually they all kind of come together. They do several climbs and eventually do the highest liturgy service. But it's the story, though, that's like, I'm if there's anything that we did well in this film, it was the storytelling, and that's what made it special.
Wow. Okay. So one of the questions that comes to mind is I guess I'm curious, where was the film made? What was it which mountain?
The film was shot in Colorado. It was several mountains in the Sagre de Cristo mountain range. If you were to look at it on a map, the Sagre de Cristo mountain range is next to a town called Alamosa, where we were at mostly, which is just about 20 miles north of the border of New Mexico. Like it's at the very southeast tip of Colorado. Um, and it follows their journeys in this mountain range. And they did several climbs, I think, from the early 20 teens. And then I think I came into the movie at 2016 when I actually met them. And the point being, like how this all kind of worked out and became a movie was that like they shot a lot of these early climbs themselves. And like this, like the story is absolutely great. And like the adventures that they have on these mountains are wonderful, but like it wouldn't be a movie if they didn't shoot it. But they actually shot it with their own like camcorders without any thought or intention of this being turned into a documentary. They just happened to find the right guy that was like, all right, I'm ready to like make a movie, you know? And I was just like extremely touched by the story and by David and his climbers. And I thought like this is really special what they're doing. I first thought it was kind of goofy and like weird because it didn't like why would you have to go to like nature and like climb a mountain to like connect with God when you can already do that in the church? But the more I was so just like they're like I would just say like their genuineness and like their belief in what they were doing was I mean it definitely made me curious and look past just like as a joke of like what is going on here, and it really made me think about what they're doing. And so that's kind of how I got involved. They've got me to do a short film for them in 2016 when I met them, and like when they told me the story I kind of had a feeling I was like this could be a whole feature film. And so I think since about 2016 it was always my goal to like make this movie happen. Sorry, I'm going on
Yeah,
extended
no.
questions.
Wow, we're doing fine. One question then, when you said you did a short film in 2016 and then went on to do a feature film, what's the difference between those two films in terms of like length of time? Will they both be shown or mostly just the obviously just the feature film then for down in the LA screening?
Yeah. The only movie that's being shown is the feature film. Like you're seeing like Beyond the Peak is a feature film. It's a 70-minute documentary. We're taking it across the country now. Our next screening is Saturday, February 18th in Los Angeles. If you're there, you should go. Would love for you to see it. But we have more screenings coming up. We have one in March 12th in Houston, March 25th in Windsor, Canada, our first time playing the movie in Canada. And then April 1st, we'll be playing it in Boston. There may be one or two more screenings that pop up outside of those dates, but I just don't know at this point. We're kind of just focusing on these next upcoming screenings and eventually then moving it to a digital platform, which that's a whole new ball game in itself. But yeah, hopefully trying to maybe get it on some maybe like Christian streaming channels, maybe I don't know, like a Tubi, or I mean, I don't think a Netflix would ever buy this project, but maybe like a Hulu or something. But I don't know. That's a whole new ball game that I have to really dive into and speak with the distributor and just see what is possible for this project and where do they think they see it will fit into the world of streaming. But yeah, it's been incredibly fun putting this project. To kind of go back to the top of the question, there is a short film. The original short film that I worked on for this thing is on YouTube. I mean, I'll just say you have to go find it. I don't think we should link to it. It's not necessarily like on brand or like up to par as the movie. The movie's like a million times better, I'd say, than like what I started as the short film. But I guess the short film would give you a taste of it. But I think you'll have to just do some research. I think it's on my YouTube channel. So if anybody's really intrigued, you just search my YouTube channel. I think like Alexander Jovic on YouTube, and I think you'll find it.
So another question that comes to mind is for those who are attending, I'm assuming, will there be a live streamed version while people are watching in LA for people to join online, or is it going to be will it just be in person?
It is just an in-person screening. We're
Okay.
hopefully targeting movie theaters, and sometimes we're playing in churches that have strong AV systems, but in-person screenings only is the only way to watch it now.
So essentially as a filmmaker, as a producer, there's quite a few options on different films you can do. What inspired you to focus on this film?
Really, it's just the story. Like I met David in 2016, literally about a week away from when I moved to Los Angeles. Um, I was asked by the parish priest, Father Dragan, who's also a character in the movie, who I've had a long relationship through his family and just meeting him through like church camps, and he would sometimes come to our church and preach. So I have a long history with him, and he knew that I was a filmmaker, and I shot like a film for him like back in the day of some like church camp thing or whatever. So he invited me. He said that I should come film David and his mountain climbers, or do some interviews, and they're going to give me a hard drive with some footage of what they're doing. And it was so funny when he asked me to do it. Like, I really was like not. I was like kind of thinking like, well, I don't really think I should do this. Like, I'm moving to LA or whatever, or whatever. But like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes when like a pastor or a priest asks you to do a favor for him in like kind of like the name of God and like the church, you kind of have to do it, sort of thing. Like, you can't just like shy away from it. So I felt like I was slightly guilted a little bit, but ultimately I was like, all right, well, you asked me to do it, so I'm gonna come and do it. But I'm so glad that I did it, because I didn't expect anything. I didn't even know what to expect, because uh I just wasn't, it was very briefly explained to me what was going on. So, but I did show up with my camera, and we did the interviews, and I was just like floored from the start of like, once David told me its story, when he was like, well, this all started because like my brother passed away, and then I went and climbed a mountain and said a prayer, and then I felt like I needed to bring other people to the mountain. And I was just like, wait, what? What did you just say? Like, I had to have him repeat it several times so I could put together his story, because I was just like, this is insane, because it's like, what compels a man to climb a mountain, kind of thing. Like, and to offer some context, I was living in Cincinnati, and they're in Indianapolis, Indiana, and it's really flat over there. We don't have mountains like here in California or in Colorado. So this was even more foreign to me at the time, when hearing that like, oh, I'm going to drive 20 hours to get to Colorado just so I can climb a mountain and get to the top. But I'd say now I'm very much so a mountain climber, and I really enjoy the activity. So I think I answered your question. I can't remember though. I rambled.
No worries. Okay, very cool. Now I see, just for clarification for the audience, what perspective is this filmed in? Is it like a first person, third person? What approach did you take?
It is. I guess it's. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that entirely. I guess like third person, maybe first person. I would say first person. Like, I had all the characters kind of tell the story. Like, there's about eight characters in the film, and well, the way I did it was I let their interviews drive the story, kind of thing. Like, it starts with kind of David. The movie first starts with David, and then like his mom and dad, and then eventually moves to David and his brother-in-law, and so on and so forth, kind of thing. So I would say that's the perspective of it. It's the characters tell the story. I kind of set up the story, or like built it, but I kind of stayed true to their word of what their story was. I made sure to like get out of the way and let them tell the story, and keep my artistic choices out of it.
I see. So I guess just kind of reiterating, it's essentially based on or almost directly a true story documentary. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And people who have previously seen the film, and those who will hopefully be coming out to Los Angeles in the next couple of days, hopefully this weekend, February 18th. What do you hope that they'll take away after they see the film? What is, what could someone like any type of cool lesson that you see that's valuable that it teaches?
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like a big thing of what I hope people to walk away with the movie is that there is real power in nature and in the mountains. Kind of, I believe that, like, one of the characters in the movie said it, and I thought when this is his name's Father Marco. He's a priest over in Jackson, California. I think that's pretty close to where you're at, relatively. Um, he said like civilization has achieved so many great things for humanity and things like that, but he says there's something about nature though that kind of puts us back into like a fundamental state, into a state that where we feel more comfortable with ourselves in a way, because so with all the advancements of modern civilization, it has also created like this noise, I think, in our head, to kind of just simplify it, where it's like the noise of society. You have the hustle and bustle, you have the traffic, the stresses of life kind of thing. But when you go out into nature, a lot of that kind of just evaporates and you can kind of become one with nature. And I think in some ways become more accepting and hearing to like the little voice inside your head, or being able to hear God more clearly when you are out in nature. So I think for me, I think that what I want people to take away is, I know there's like I think like there like depression runs high in the United States, and I think that there is something to be said about going to nature and like stepping outside of your comfort zone out there, that you can kind of find it's a soothing place. Like solitude is a place for healing and soothing, because it brings perspective of what is important in your life, sort of things. I think we kind of need to step out and de-stress ourselves when we go through nature. So I really hope people can use nature, because I mean, we're always talking about global warming, and like the forests are shrinking. And it's like, well, we have it right now, so we should try to enjoy it as people, like going on a camping trip, visiting a national park, or just like doing a simple hike in the woods, even is will do wonders, I think, for your brain, and just helping you bring down your stress levels. And I think also hopefully make for some hopefully make you more, I think, receptive to God and like the spirituality and connectivity of the world. So that's what I hope people walk away with when they see the message.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. Just a moment here. So for those who might be interested in attending, how can they find the LA event, the screening in LA?
So the best way to find us is through our Eventbrite link, which I think you said you would put it in the description. So LA again is Saturday, February 18th. And then we have 3 more screenings after that. I'm just reading off my list. Houston on March 12th, Windsor, Canada on March 25th, and then Boston on April 1st. So it's really exciting. I think these might be our last screenings for this run. We were hoping to do more screenings. It could happen if anybody is super excited and they want to see the movie and they want to help pack a movie theater with me, that would be amazing. I'd be love to then bring the movie to your town. But ultimately, I think you will be looking eventually, after these movie screenings come and go, we'll be hopefully moving this on into the online and streaming space, which I have no idea where that's going to go, but it should be out sometime this year. It's ready.
And what are some links? Like, what would be what is your website where people can can find you and future events as well.
Yes. So check us out at beyondthepeakfilm.com. That I think my Facebook page, beyondthepeakfilm.com, is this everything is this Beyond the Peak Film. So if you look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and our website, you can find us all there. I guess give us a like, give us a subscribe, say hello. And we'll hopefully be able to I'm the one who answers these questions and emails. I see them come through. So they're always excited to hear from people over here. And definitely if you were listening to this podcast, give a shout out to Heavenya that you were here.
Sweet. Well, Alex, thank you again for coming on the podcast. And
thank you for having me. It was great.